I can get here an hour early and still fuck this up. I mean, not an hour early, but you know. Olay. Alright, let's get into this. Oops, I gotta turn off that volume. That shit loud. Hold on. What's going on over here? We're gonna have to do... What is this? Okay, let's just cut that off for now. We'll turn it on here in a sec after the quali. I don't need that music bothering me. Fuck. Alright guys. I did an oopsies. So I had a couple practice races. The only thing is I did it in the wrong car. Starting from scratch again. Alright.
Pit lane speed limit is 50 miles per hour.
Oh yeah, okay. Wait, what is this? Oh, okay, wow, I'm glad I did that. What? Bro, what happened? Oh my god, this thing, man. What happened? Did I speed? I have no idea. Alright, whatever. I'm gonna go slow. Apparently we can't go
Disengage
fast.
limiter, please, Patrick.
What? Disengage it? You can't have a limiter or what? I'm confused. Are we not allowed to have a pit limiter? Oh wow, I guess we can't. Is that frowned upon in the league? Oof. Okay, I need to listen to Jimbo. Huh. Well, that's news to me. Alright, so what's the speed limit? 50 you said? Jeez. What up, Bot Ricks? What's going on? What am I doing wrong? Laps won't count until you reset in the pits? Bro, what the fuck is... What's the problem here? Why won't it... I love how it doesn't tell me what's wrong. Yeah, I'm just burning through my quali time.
Okay, Patrick, we've got 3 laps to set a decent time.
Alright, I'm gonna keep it at 48, 47. I don't know what I did wrong. I have no idea. Oh, this isn't even a quali setup. I'm on like heavy ass fuel. So stupid. Oof. I already forgot everything.
The leader's just done it, 145.30.
145, poor leg. Ooh. I'm taking all the wrong lines. Jesus. Need to figure this out quick. Jesus. Better get it together. Why would it let me even put the pit limiter on there if it's a frowned upon? Let's see. Oh shit. Bro, I got confused on where I was at. Oh, that just fucked me. I think I braked way too early there. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. See if we can clean it up. Alright. So we got a right-handed turn here. Oh no, it did not. Idiot. Got a left-handed turn. See, I don't even know this track. Dumb. And now we have these two right-handed ears. Alright. Then we have a left-handed. Oof. Lost a lot of momentum there. It's okay. Let's just get on the board. Yeah, please. Fuck. Oh, fuck. Just leave it there. I'll fix it. Wow, that was a horrible ass run. Alright. See that time? I don't have time for another one. Nope. I wasted my quali. I'm probably like last place still.
You're running last. Come on, Patrick.
I'm in last place. That was embarrassing. That sucks. Oh well. I have no idea what everybody's running, but it's clearly better than me. That's bad. That's what happens when you don't practice. Oh, it's 10 minutes. I might have time. What the hell, bro? Fucking confused myself. Idiot. Ah, shit. Yeah, that sucks. I doubt I improved anything.
P17.
Oh wow, I did improve. That was a trash run too. That gives me hope. I just went up 6 positions off that trash ass run. Let me get off. Let me get off though. Wowzers! I did not expect that. All right, let's get out. So what's the fastest time here? What are we looking at? What are our results? Let me see what we got here. Let me see what we got going on. Let's check out the channel. Oh shit. What's up, what's up? Okay. I got you guys here. Let's see. Quali's over. So what I'm gonna do is
around about Easter time, you'll be able to see these 1 hour stunners of races and a very competitive field, which isn't covered by a lot. Lisa Eskridge currently qualified in 20th, only 5.4 seconds off of the pole, which may seem like a lot, but on a racetrack that is very challenging, very technical.
I'm sorry, what?
17 turns at all. That really shows you the level of competition that we have got in this series, and expecting some brilliant racing from the Tropic Green Flag in the opening round of the season. Now coming up in the not too far off future, all the way through to the season finale at Daytona in quite a few weeks'
You
time.
can see up there.
Now,
I put it on the big screen.
With qualifying officially in our rear view mirror, I think it may be time to switch off into the warm-up session and use this as an opportunity to catch our breath, as I will do right now.
For any communications you need with race control, like the blue flag review.
And
as these are the only 2 channels live race control can hear you on.
Where's that?
Repeat your request if you do not get a response from us. Other than that, use the radios only for essential racing related exchanges and refrain from calling out other drivers. Remember not to advance into empty spaces to fill the gaps from missing cars when forming up and pacing. Just maintain pace, car speed, and starting grid distance with the next car ahead until the green flag. It's most important to stay in line with the car ahead and make no attempt to out-accelerate or to pass initially on the green flag until you reach the official starting line. So just accelerate as much as the car ahead of you allows for on that green flag, but wait until you reach the start-finish line before you step out of line to begin passing and racing. As always, enhanced penalties apply in the orange zone, which starts when you grid and it ends for you when you begin your second lap. Penalties given for violations that happen on your first lap in the orange zone are enhanced to a 15-second stop and hold. So take care driving through that first lap of yours. From there on out, all penalties will just be drive-throughs. If you are forced to start from the pits, make sure to alert live race control by announcing your car number. We'll be starting from the pits and we'll respond with any instructions. Proceed out of your pit box when instructed by iRacing itself. Rejoins are a little bit spicy here, especially coming off of pit road, so make sure your relative is clear. For your overtakes, respect the vortex of danger and be prepared to back off and follow if you cannot reach the rear axle of the overtaken car with your front axle before turn in. Remember, the hole you see ahead is closing rapidly. You may be in a blind spot. There will likely be contact. There could be an incident, and it will be your fault. Also, drive easy through the local cautions and avoid passing until you safely clear the hazard. A recent update to this track is changed some of the track rules. Hopefully you've had a chance to look those over.
I did not look those over.
Of particular note, there is a 1X given at the stadium turns for 4 wheels off the center of the turns, which seems pretty forgiving to me. Watch your accumulation of safety X's, though, because iRacing will disqualify you at 25 of those. So 25X, iRacing will DQ you. And live race control will not clear that or any other iRacing given penalties for the CRG. There's a lot of opportunities on this track to massively cut the track and gain an advantage over your competitors. And if you do that, I'm going to send you down pit road. That's in the CRG2. Kind of a new rule of the series.
Good.
Because there's been a problem with that in the past. And we're going to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
Good.
At the end of all this, wait until I announce that the race is over and the track is clear, because iRacing is going to tell you the race is over. The little box appears at the top of your screen, but there will still be people finishing up their final lap, and they may need to use the comms to speak to each other, and they'll definitely want to concentrate. So wait till you hear the announcement that the track is clear before you give the winners the well-deserved congratulations that they've got coming from you. I'll announce that for you at the end of all this. Okay, so good luck out there. That's all I got for you. We'll see you after the race.
Later.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Michael.
Right behind on your 10th row, it is Carl Best alongside Lisa Eskridge. Jack Stevenson will start in 21st. Bruce Froby will start this race in P22. Andy McCune starting this race in 23rd. Rounding out your field for the opening race of Series 15 in the PCA Challenge class. Want to thank all of you for deciding that RaceSpot TV and the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series and the start of Series 15 should be part of your Thursday evening plans. If you do enjoy tonight's broadcast, have to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Couple of moments left here in warm-up, and then we're going to get into the race itself. And so much challenge is going to lie ahead on this 2.67 mile, 17 turn road course. It's tough. Very, very tough. This track packs a punch, and it's also one of the highest in the world. Air is going to be a heck of a lot thinner. The downforce is going to be a heck of a lot lower. These racers are going to be running in thin air and running on thin nerves
I just got on, bro.
So
Stream just started.
Folks, this is going to be a fantastic way to get this season up and rolling.
Let's see.
And speaking of, folks, we have switched our attention now. We have switched sessions into the race, and we'll see the drivers lining up on that provisional starting grid right about now before they get this formation lap rolling. Taking one more look at the track conditions, rather calm here. It is the calmness, the stillness here, the calm before the storm, if you would, before we get this season rocking and rolling. Looking at the winds, only 3 kilometers an hour. That is pretty much just a cough of wind that we have got going on around here right now. 19 degrees C for that ambient temperature, 20 degrees C for the track temp. Now to translate that from Eurobabble into English, that is 66 degrees Fahrenheit for the ambient temperature and 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
I won't be mad.
Fair to say it is rather low, but we are running quite high in the elevation here at Autodromo.
I can't hear you.
Over a mile in the sky. The air is thinner. It's always going to be a little bit cooler, a little bit more crisp. Interesting to note that the humidity is you'd expect it to be a little bit lower, but you know it's still got to be a great race for these drivers. I think we're going to have some fun doing this broadcast. These racers are going to have a heck of a lot of fun in this race as well. I'm not real sure what else we could say about this. This track is one that puts on spectacles every single time, either Formula 1, Formula E, NASCAR, and their festivities back in the summer of 2025. No matter what series comes on, drummer Hermanos Rodriguez.
So we can't cross. Oh, I don't know why he did that.
There's going to be a show, and we're expecting a show.
He's about to give me a penalty.
Series 15 for the PCA Challenge class, waiting for that pace car to cut.
Aubrey's about to give me a penalty because he got out of line.
Field into the hands of our pole sitter, Brad Dunn, as they head their way onto that start-finish straightaway, packing up and stacking up a little bit farther behind. The green flag flies. The drivers are on their way for the first time in Series 15. We are racing here in the challenge class. Fantastic start from Brad Dunn. Everybody else trying to fan out side by side. 3 wide, maybe even a little bit 4 wide farther in the back. But they head their way into the braking zone. Turn number 1. Got to make sure you hit your marks perfectly. Will anyone try and go for a move, or is everyone going to try walking on eggshells a little bit? That's what I would do.
Yeah, get some heat on these tires.
Behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel. Seeing some attacking going on right now. That's a battle for second with Jeffrey Block and Vernon Messer. They're battling for P2. It was Brad Dunn in just the span of 3 quarters and 3 quarters alone as he heads his way into sector 2 right now. Already extending out to 1.2 seconds. Vernon Messer goes for the dive into turn number 4. He's going to make it sick as Block crashes right behind a half spin into the fence. He's going to go. Jeffrey Block, a driver who started right at the front, going to get sent right to the back before his race really gets up and rolling. The Rocky Mountain Region racer with a rocky start to this race and all that drama. It is allowed to make Leon Snyman in that very striking 993 machine. He's now running in third. 2 spots gained ever since it dropped the green flag just a matter of about 2/3 of a lap ago. But the main winner out on lap 1 is Brad Dunn, extending that gap now to nearly north of 2 seconds over Vernon Messer. It was gutsy stuff hang down to turn number 4 that got Messer P2, but in all that, I think he may have rattled the cage of Jeffrey Block just a little bit. There he goes around and into the fence he's going to go. Could hear that impact as well over our camera. I wonder whether or not the damage is severe on that car or not. We'll just have to wait and see.
Way behind. I need to pick it up.
At the moment, completing lap number 1, 2 minutes already down in this race. It's Brad Dunn holding on to the race lead for the Messer and P2. Leon Snyman slotted in third with David Sundry and Harpreet Bath running out your top 5. We run on board with that. The Pacific Northwest region driver running in P5, 4 spots gained ever since the drop of the green flag, and he's about a half a second off the back of David Sauntre as they head their way into the heavy braking zone of turn number 1, and spread out a little bit up at the front, but far behind it is still very
figure out
close.
turn
Racers trying to make hay while the sun is shining and get these moves
That was
done
a horrible
early.
line.
And looked a little bit touch and go
All
there
right.
with Vernon Messer.
Appreciate you, Danny.
During the
I'm gonna try to have a good
at
stream.
least I certainly saw during the club class
Thanks for
race
stopping
1
by,
week
bro.
ago here on RaceSpot TV, how much the track limits and slowdowns could absolutely wreck a driver's race. We may see a little bit of that here as look at a dive heading off into turn number 4. Similar shades to the battle for P2 on lap 1. That's a Sportus getting past Harper Bath, and that is a swapperoo for P5. So Sportus now jumping into that spot.
I'm trying to take it easy because the tires are still cold.
As all this drama has been going on for the drivers, duking now for some of the lesser spots inside of the top 10. So valuable points in an 8-round season. Got to make hay while the sun is shining, get the good results. You can't afford to have a bad result in an 8-round championship. You just need to constantly be on your A game and on their A game. These drivers are John Kaplan, maybe eyeing up a move on Rupert Bath in a couple of moments' time. Brad Dunn, meanwhile, up at the front, hasn't really extended that gap the way that he had in mind. The gap to himself and Vernon Messer continues to oscillate. It goes anywhere from about 1.6 to 1.8 seconds, down occasionally to 1.3, currently sitting at a nice even 1.5. And at this point, as we start lap number 3, I'm delighted to bring in my esteemed colleague here onto this broadcast, Mr. Jeremy Scott, right off the back of another show, coming in scorching hot. Jeremy, welcome into Mexico City once again, my friend.
You need to hold them brakes a little bit.
Ron, do you think that since I was here last week that I remember how to get here, but it gets a little confusing in Mexico City. Once again, I'm not surprised we have some great racing here with the 992s. You see Harpit Bath and John Kaplan in that battle for 6th place, and they're really knocking at the door. One thing that I saw last week that I really enjoyed is, you know, you were able to race with a lot of people here, so I expect nothing less out of this challenge class.
Fuck.
Yeah, in this challenge class, always one of the most competitive, and these drivers always going to be the most adventurous as to similar shades of what Jonathan Sportus did on
I feel like he turned into me.
Harper Bath doing the move on Sportus once again.
I'm probably going to get hit with the penalty.
That's been a happy hunting ground for these racers ever since the drop of the green flag. Sometimes it can end good, other times it can end poorly. Jeffrey Block, driver started right up towards the front, tried to get a move done, and it was Vernon Messer, actually, that tried to get the move done on him. It worked out well for Messer as he's running in P2. Block, meanwhile, hit the wall, spun, crashed. It was an unfortunate moment, but turn 4 and the tight finish chicanes on this racetrack always know no bounds.
Exactly. That's something that you and I mentioned last week is, you know, with the Herman Tilkeified race circuit that we have here, especially here in the stadium section, while it does make for good racing for open wheel cars, it makes it a little difficult for the sports cars. But with this being a single leg series, it makes life a little easier. We see Aubrey Ayer having some issues, and yeah, once again, you just get in one of those tight corners, and if you don't realize that somebody's there, you're going for a spin and a contact.
Yeah, I think race control may be looking at both the contact and the rejoin there. Jack Stevenson.
Oh my God, I got a penalty. You're
inside.
fucking kidding me.
This racetrack, as much as it has been extensively modified to.
Bro, he turned into me.
Sort of it's very sad looking at the race spot logo.
Wow.
All warped up. More drama. That's Andy McCune. That's him coming to blow off through turn number 6. He's going to loop it around after contact with the car right in front of him. Patrick McGuire already with the black flag in the early stages of this race. I'll have to take a look to see whether or not that was a call from race control. Yes, it was. It was incident responsibility with the car number 15. So that's going to bring him down to pit lane. Getting back to the point that I was going to raise, Jeremy, I mentioned how this track was changed quite a lot when Herman Tilk got the ire of it and tried to rectify some of its old school flair and make it safe for the modern day. But you know, it's added asphalt runoff area. It's made the track a lot safer, but it is still very narrow.
It
Now I need to figure out where this pit lane's at.
Last time out, you were a little too wide, and you're going to get a slap on the wrist from the E stewards, and you will get a slowdown penalty through there. So that's something to watch out for. You're watching Sasportas and Kaplan in a battle for 6th place. You're looking out the back of the 765, and yeah, a lot of concrete, but that's again to raise the standards of the grade 1 facility that you need to have if you want to host an F1 race. There's plenty of great racetracks here in Mexico, really in Central America to begin with. Alex Lidback with a spin going into the stadium section. Oh, a little bit of contact there into the wall. So, you know, there's no shortage of great historic tracks to choose from, but obviously Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, it is the most historic track and really the home of F1 in Mexico.
Yeah, and it's been the home of so many fantastic events over the years. I said this right before we grabbed the green. Of course, Formula One has raced here for many, many moons. Seeing a black flag for Aubrey Ayer, I believe that may have been for the other rejoin after the contact. With Aguirre heading off through that same section, turned up before N5 right towards the start of this lap, and looking through that was actually because of the other unsafe rejoin. So pretty even keel with 2 drivers getting 2 penalties for the other same incident. Probably the same strength as well as that's Gales with a moment off through turn number 2, hit the inside curve, got to strike the outside wall. Looks like the rear wing briefly pops off like a misshapen Lego, but clamps back on as if it's made out of magnets. But no, this track has held so many fantastic events. Formula One obviously races here. Formula E just recently wrapped up their festivities here for their annual E-Prix event here at NASCAR, and the NASCAR Xfinity Series along with the Cup Series ran here this past year. I believe the NASCAR Mexico Series runs every single year here too, and IndyCar has a rather expansive history at this facility as well, along with a whole litany of sports car events both in Central and South America, as well as our IMSA, ALMS, and Grand Am as well.
I was going to say, yeah, it has an extensive history. And remember, there's also a baseball team that used to play at that stadium inside Bruce Roby. Yep, that'll happen too. You get a little too egregious trying to go in for that corner, and it will bite you through there as well. It gets back straightened up and underway. So, you know, here's the thing. Everybody has their own sort of way to get around here, and with it being an F1 circuit, it's going to be a little bit difficult for some drivers because you hear these 2 words a lot: concrete canyon.
Yeah, that is a very fitting way to describe this racetrack. It feels almost street circuit-esque in the sense that in many parts have no runoff area to speak of. There is little room for error. A lot of the street circuits that you see end up on the calendar nowadays in Formula One actually have a lot more runoff area than Mexico City does, and it's a purpose-built racetrack. This has been for many, many moons. So it's a little bit odd every single time you run around here, and talked about the quirks and features of this racetrack quite a lot already, and we'll continue to mention it. That's a spin for Jack Stevenson heading off into the stadium section. The Forest Sol, I believe I called it the Forest Sol a little bit earlier on, but that's a Forest Sol, and that is pretty scary for a moment heading out of 12.
It really is. Jeffrey Block going around Kenneth Eskridge for that 12th spot. He's got sights there. Then he's going to set his sights on Robert Gallus.
I did not get an off track.
Honestly, that paint scheme reminds me a lot of the Ruckus Racing paint schemes. Race Control mentioning to us that the 981 was penalized for diving into the 15 subsequently penalized for the unsafe rejoin, like you mentioned. Rear-ended the 525 into the hapless 15. And yeah, just one of those, as we said, Constantina effects where one thing leads to another. And, you know, the fix, I don't know if they have the post-race concert here, but they might as well with that penalty.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers running into difficulties in the early stages of this race. We saw it last week in the season opener for the club class. I'm sure it's been a steady fixture throughout the weeks here in the opening rounds of Series 15 here in the PCA Sim Racing Series. Lots of drivers running into difficulties, running into trouble. Latest driver to run into trouble, Jonathan Sport, as you can see him just barely peeking through a graphic, stopped on the left-hand side of the racetrack on the outside into the braking zone of turn number 4. Not sure what happened there, but it looks like there's some rather significant damage on that machine. At least it did on the first angle. I have to figure out what in the world happened to Sport, as he was running a good race, but now that car looks wounded. It looks like he's gotten back up to relative speed. What the world caused him to be parked there in the first place?
I fucking hit that way wrong.
It'll be interesting. I mean, there is no parking there. I didn't see a sign that said, hey, you know, park for a fee here. So we'll see if we can get a replay on that. But Block, I'll tell you what, since he made that pass, he's really catching up really quickly. Here's the Sportus. Let's watch this replay. Dies. Oh, I think that was a disconnect.
Yeah, I think either like a VR headset failure, a monitor failure. Believe me, I've been the victim of monitor failures myself. And yeah, with the wiggling on the steering wheel, I think that had to have been some sort of technical issue, not surrounding the rig itself, but surrounding his screen. That is so unfortunate. That's the thing about sim racing. You know, you do have failures in real life that can go on, engine failures, suspension failures, doesn't matter what the case is. In sim racing, don't usually have that go on, although you can blow up your motor. Here, it's just a matter of one small little part of your sometimes very elaborate sim rig can go wrong, and that can change your race in the blink of an eye. As a result of that, we're seeing Jonathan Sport come into the pits about 13 minutes in, trying to reverse the strategy. I'm sure there's some damage on that race car as well, so that could potentially force him down to pit lane 2. Yeah, out very quickly. So I think that had to have been him taking the one fast repair that these drivers are allotted.
Oh, so we do get a fast
maybe
repair.
Try and flip the strategy. I think we saw drivers last week pit within the final 10 to 15 minutes of the race, but no, I think the major damage on that race car was just too much for him to overcome. Had to come to serve that before iRacing said, nope, you're done.
Okay, Patrick, the next car is...
Yeah, I think it's 2 laps that iRacing gives you a chance to answer that call. And if you don't answer it, well, guess what? Your race, they're going to answer it for you, and you're not going back out. So that's something to think about as well. Here's the 313 of Dave Jones. He's got Andrew Hillman behind him. He's really got to try and keep him behind, as Hillman has that fishing line out there, and he's really trying to reel in that 7th place driver to work their way onto the stadium section. Now's the time that we're going to see how these drivers can handle the defense, as Hillman just barely outside a drafting area coming off of the Peraltada, and I think that he's going to be too far away to make something happen, but he's still going to make notice because there's a couple great passing zones coming up as well.
Yeah, as much as we've talked about how narrow this racetrack is, there are still some mightily good overtaking opportunities. Turn 1, heavy braking zone. I'm not sure if that was going to work out too well. Dave Jones looked like an interesting approach all through there. I mentioned this earlier on. This track, very momentum-based in the sense that if you get one turn wrong, let's say, turn 1 in the opening series of events, run a little bit wide through there, it's going to mess up your approach into 2, which will most certainly catch you up into turn number 3. Most certainly the S's as well. We've seen racers get wrong through the first one, that just snowballs out of control from there.
I got hit
That's
with
the
a
term I think is the best way to
penalty.
describe it. Snowballing. You drop a quarter at the top of a mountain and it rolls down the snowy hills, and eventually there's going to be something the size of the house at the bottom of the slopes.
Let's see.
This is Mexico, though. What is snow?
Yeah, I'll probably get the swing of things probably like mid-race.
No, never mind. Anyway, Jeffrey Block, though, has finally opened up that gap to Gals. So somebody spun and hit the wall. That's going to be Hillman through the S's. And that is a strange place to have that happen. Normally we see drivers, spin right there. Let's watch the replay. And I think he just hits the paint, hits the rumble strips, hits that rumble strip. And Ron, I feel like it's a case of the back end trying to see what the front end's looking at. And it says Tech Pro barriers.
Yeah, and here in the PCA, of course, everybody running the formidable Porsche 992, and as it is the only GT3 car that I personally own on my own iRacing account to race in, sometimes the rear end will decide very quickly and very abruptly simply that it doesn't like cooperating with the rest of the car. It doesn't like cooperating with you, and it will swap ends in the blink of an eye. That's kind of just a marquee feature of the character handlistics of rear-engine cars. Porsche's being no different, obviously. That's the move from Jeffrey Block. He has sided his way through the field up into 8th. On that joke you said a couple of moments ago, Jeremy, I wish I had been working in this industry as long as you have, because I wish I had the clout to be able to make a joke like that, get away with it.
You know what?
Come on.
But I've said it so many times, and that's probably why I'm sitting here calling simulated races and not out there getting ready for the Roar Before the 24. Anyway, Jeffrey Block making, as we said, he's made his way up through the field. Now he sets his sights on Dave Jones. But here's the thing, Ron, he's got about 4 seconds to catch him. I think he might catch him before the pit stop window opens up. We'll see what happens here, because he's fast enough. He's already opened up a gap about 1.5 seconds over Le Gaultier's Peter Portanova, up 2 spots, and he's doing his best to hold off all comers behind him, because he's got a couple seconds up to Alex Lidback.
Yeah, so although some gaps have grown, we still have the occasional train like this of drivers just trying to find any way to get past one another. We were talking a few moments ago about how easy it is to get a move done here, but if you play the defensive game, whether it be into the heavy braking zones or just through the tight twisties, you can very easily hold on to a spot, even if you have a massive disadvantage. I think we're seeing a little bit of it in this battle. It also looks like these cars running a little bit sour right now. The car right behind Susportus of Andrew Hillman looked like there's maybe a little bit of suspension damage there. It looked like the front left was diving down quite a lot every single time he would turn into a right-hander.
Well, of course, as we mentioned, some of these rumble strips will come out and bite. It seems like there's a healthy mix of rumble strips and curbing here at Mexico City. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of laps. Of course, pit stop time might be a good time to get that faster pair done, because there's one of those rumble strip areas. But I think trying to pass for 15th that Susportus is trying in the Peraltada might be a little bit too opportunistic. Best going to try and hold off Susportus, and Susportus thinking better of it. He's going to tuck in.
See, earlier I should have just kept driving through that. I had a drive-through penalty anyways. I sat there and waited, but
later on down the road.
It's almost like I owned guilt. I should have just pushed right through him.
Susportus goes for the dive, and Carl Best gonna get punted into a spin. He tries to creak that car off the racetrack from the first St. Louis region. He's got maybe tow back to pit lane potentially. Nobody stops on the side of the racetrack very briefly, tries to find the opportunity to rejoin, and rejoin he will. I knew it wasn't going to work. Side-by-side racing off into the opening series of turns. One driver's going to have to back out, and that's usually the spot where he decides to go for the move. Turn 2 is the true choke with the bottleneck, if you would.
Damn.
That's a shame. I'm sure Race Control is going to have a look at that myself, and would not be surprised if there's some penalties that come out as a result of it. In the meantime, though, Harpreet Bath and Jonathan Kaplan now battling. That's battle for 5th at the moment on the bottom corner of your screen, as we see Carl Best getting sent into a spin. I'll be honest, Jeremy, upon first glance, I think that may be a bit of a move of desperation from Susportus after the drama that fell him a little bit early on, maybe seeing the redness of it.
Okay, Patrick, you're reeling P16.
I want it to be on the record. I said go 4-2, not go.
All right, so we're moving up.
But either way, yeah, that was a little bit of opportunistic, and right away, Race Control throws a solid black flag on Susportus, so they're seeing the same thing that we are. Going to be interesting if it's a 15-second penalty, stop and hold. And yeah, Susportus right away knows. He goes, yep, that's fine. I'll just come in, serve my penalty now.
Yeah, as somebody who has, of course, gotten the opportunity to cover a lot of the action here in the PCA and cover many other events with live race stewarding and race control, and somebody who's gotten to do race control rather extensively himself. Gotta give some love to Race Control all the time. It's one of the most thankless jobs in sim racing outside of production work, which I'm going to take myself as well. It's a very, very tricky job, and more often than not, you're going to have racers be rather upset with you, upset at a call, and sometimes you'll start to see a racer's mind kind of go off from a moment. What sets racers apart is the way that they battle back from adversity maybe. There are some that can bounce back as if nothing happened. Others that will be able to do it quite clean. I'm not sure what in the world happened with Bruce Froby right behind. I saw him pull over.
My goal is to get P10.
The stadium section. I think he was trying to let some lap traffic go by. But then as he headed his way
didn't have it there, and
out
all of a sudden it's
of the
there.
final turn onto the start-finish straightaway,
Yeah,
I thought I saw
doing
him
that
moving
right
a bit,
now.
and then his car disappeared.
1-3-0.
So I'm not sure whether or not he passed a iRacing set limit,
connection warning on the
whether or not he
1-3-0.
just got yoinked off the road, whether his internet may have run into difficulties, whether he hit 88 miles an hour and went back to this racetrack in 1962 and is currently racing alongside Jim Clark, or whether or not he
Daniel,
got
I
abducted
appreciate you stopping by, brother.
Either way, I don't think we'll be seeing him again.
Rating is 0.8.
Well, Ron, I will say this is somebody who has done race control in real life. I'd rather do it in the sim because you don't have the drivers in your face. At least you just have them, you know, they're doing this, or, you know, they're yelling in their headset. Brad Dunn with a quick spin, heading into the tight stadium portion, able to get away, no harm, no foul. Yeah, I'd rather just be able to sit in my own. But then again, I've got thick skin. You know, I'd be able to laugh it off. I was able to laugh it off then. I can laugh it off now. I've had Italians yell at me for stuff that I'm trying to keep them safe for. Harp hit Bath with the slide off heading into the stadium section, so he will concede that spot to Kaplan, and now Kaplan going to close in on Sauntry, so his rise up through the grid is moving quite well.
Yes, unfortunate moment for Harpreet Bath in the 915 car, running into trouble down into turn number 12, the braking zone, into the stadium strike once again. Meantime, though, looking right behind at this two-car battle is Dave Jones and Jeffrey Block. Block, the driver that got involved in drama right towards the start of this race, trying to cut his way through the order, and he's been able to do that in a rather big way. PA at the moment gonna go for a move, maybe for P9. That was last minute. I'm not sure if he meant to go for that. Maybe just trying to avoid running into the back of him, but he's still got to stick it out side by side. Dave Jones playing ball. I commend Dave Jones for giving him the room, even though he really didn't have to, with not a lot of overlap, if any at all, as they headed their way off the opening section. Jeffrey Block, I don't think he meant to go for that, but went for it. He did. Oh, Dave Jones gonna run wide into turn 4, and that's going to allow Block to get the spots.
Some great dancing here for position as Block going to try and hold on to that 7th spot. We'll see if Jones can close in on that second gap, but he does, heading towards the S's. Man, let's take a look at this replay because that was absolutely fantastic. Goes just a little bit wide, has a slowdown to let Block by, and yeah, one thing led to another. So I think this Jones-Block battle is really going to heat up, especially as we head towards the pit stops that we're going to have here in just a little bit as well. 765 penalized for the dive bomb into 462. So just exactly what we thought there.
Thank you, Carl and Jack.
Yes, the race controls had their hands busy trying to type out all the messages, make sure they can take a look at everything throughout the night, and have a feeling that may still be the case as we get into the next 35 minutes of this race. I want to once again thank all of you tuning into this broadcast here on RaceSpot TV. Hope you enjoyed, and if you do have it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the action. We have still got a lot of action to talk about. Some drama involving Brad Dunn. He hasn't had it too easy as of late. The gap has been halved between himself and Vernon Messer. Now it's still north of 2.5 seconds, so it's not like he is running at the seat of his pants quite yet, but he can't afford to have too many moments, otherwise Vernon Messer is going to be there to pounce soon.
It only takes just a little bit, and yes, even though they are even keel cars, you know, driver talent still comes into it, and there's a lot of very talented drivers here, not only in PCA, but also in really in this challenge class, and they're very gritty, want to get up there near the front, and you know, they have some of the best direct drive wheels as well, so it's almost like they're racing in a car, but they're not spending the exorbitant, you know, tire fees, transport fees, fuel fees, so they've got a lot of that. There's your leader, Brad Dunn, holding that 3-second advantage. I'll tell you what, he's going to do all he can in the pit stops because he doesn't want Messier or Snyman to undercut him here. And I would say the next 15 minutes, we might start to see that pit window open
now
for
I'm back where
runners.
I kind of started. I think I started in 17, but...
So when that pit window opens a little bit later on in this race, the complexion is going to change entirely. We'll see if anybody decides to throw something interesting at the wall to see what sticks. I remember the first time that I got the opportunity to lead a broadcast here in the PCA. It was last season for the action in this class, in the challenge class. It was at Aragon, running in the rain for, I believe, round number 5 of the championship. Was doing that show on my lonesome and got the opportunity to see the many interesting calls that drivers would make in that race. And you know, obviously the rain affected everybody going for some different strategy. That gives you the opportunity to go for some different strategies. But even in the dry, these challenge class racers are always going to throw something interesting at the wall, try and do something interesting. And you know, as is always said in the world of racing, you're not going to win by doing the same thing that everybody else is doing up in front.
No, you're not going to win the race on the first corner either, so you always want to keep that in mind. We're watching Simon go around the course. What a fantastic start. I'm forward. I'm
stay a little wider.
Always love these starts
exit speed, cutting in so shallow.
Mexico City,
all right,
because it's always fast, it's always frantic. Everybody wants to jostle for position, just so that way they can make sure that they're able to get through the corners so early on. And yeah, everybody so far so good, makes it on the out to the first 3 corners with no issues. As we're watching this battle between Kaplan and Block. Block is caught up to Kaplan once again. Dave Jones, that interested spectator through the S's, sitting back there as well.
And good to see the other moment for Jeffrey Block, still running well in this race. We held on that replay to start a little bit more. You would have seen the drama that brought Jeffrey Block outside of the top 3 in the first place, but he was putting on a storming drive. Got some cars right up in front of him. John Kaplan farther up the road with Susportus, a lap car, with a pretty awkward run through the stadium section. Hop, skip, and a jump over the curb through there. Not the ideal line through there. Probably got to pick up some incident points too, as that's John Kaplan with the spin off into turn number 7.
I can find my way around.
Pick up some incident points as well. Hell, as Jonathan Susportus nearly running into the back of him. That's actually what caught at Jeffrey Block a little bit, and most certainly caught out John Kaplan as he lost out on a huge amount of time because of that.
Yeah, he almost Kaplan might be having a visit to pit road here. We'll wait to see what race control has to say about that, but that was interesting to say the least. It almost ended a couple drivers' races there. And that's one thing that, you know, you're lucky you can learn that here in the sim, but it's harder to learn in real life. Is this gaggle. Let's call it a gaggle with Block and Jones sitting back there in 7th and 8th. Block out of the Rocky Mountain region. Lost 4 spots, but still sitting in the top 10. That was a little wiggle headed into that first turn in the S's.
Yeah, as we still follow Jeffrey Block, wiggles into the S's notwithstanding. He's put on a good drive, running in P7. I talked about this as we were getting this show up and rolling, talking about the in-brand championship here in Series 15 of the PCA,
we can snitch on people?
And how everybody has to be on their A game, pretty much from the drop the green flag here in Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez through to the checker flag at Daytona in a couple of months' time. You can't really afford to have bad days. You can have bad moments, but if you want to be a champion, you got to rebound as well as you can. Jeffrey Block trying to get a little bit of dirt off of his visor, not off of his visor, off of his windscreen. Was just gonna say that I'm more of an open wheel guy because he can use a visor tear off and don't have to worry about the wiper spearing the dirt around in real life.
765 if you could yield to the 390.
Doing that right there and making me trip over my own words. So shows more of an open wheel guy than a sports car guy, but sports car racing is always so exciting. See, the only reason why I say that I'm an open wheel guy is because in sports cars, I suck.
I just suck behind the wheel, period. So that's why I don a headset, and everybody's happier for me that I do this. As Block goes around Susportus, who still is 1 lap down. Remember, he had that black flag penalty that he had to come in and serve after that incident a couple of minutes ago. But Jeffrey Block closing in on John Kaplan once again. No penalty has been doled out by race control, but I think that's probably going to be one of those ones where it's noted, but they'll respond to it after the race.
Mine should have been noted.
I think there may be a little bit of post-race review, and of course, all throughout this season here on Race Spot TV, we'll keep you up to date as the championship permutations and everything else comes along. And one more championship that we do bring up, especially come time for the end of the season and the final 2 weeks, and that it won't be until probably April that we bring this up once again. But there are some prizes that are given out to drivers who run through the season the cleanest. I believe last season's Challenge Class racer, Challenge Class champion, I should say, Ed Trippett, was able to complete the season with very few incident points and kept it clean from the drop to green flag all the way through to the checkered in the season finale. And if anyone can do that quite well, they may walk away with some hardware at the end of the season. I'll have to get further confirmation as to what that will look a little bit later on in this year once we get into the spring. Still in the doldrums of winter here in the northern hemisphere. It's been delightful where in my neck of the woods in the city of Philadelphia the past couple of weeks we've had temperatures in the 50s, sometimes in the 40s. I think we had a day where we nearly got into the 60s. It was absolutely fantastic. And even I say this as somebody who enjoys the cold a lot more than the heat. It was my time of year. That was t-shirts and shorts weather for me, getting close to the 60s. And now
it's supposed to be up there.
It's gonna be like 20 degrees in about a week. So anybody who enjoyed the brief spring that we had in the Philadelphia area, that is going to completely disappear. But thankfully for these racers that are dealing with some temperate conditions, I would say probably a bit on the cooler end that they would probably have in mind, but still not scorching hot, still not freezing cold, just right. As look at that, a little bit of bump drafting maybe going on with Jeffrey Block and John Kaplan. Block trying to get the move done, contact being made as they head their way through the braking zone. Block gets P6, but that got ugly.
I was going to say, it's pretty ugly here in the city of Big Shoulders at the Elmar Radio Ranch in Muscle
already
Farm.
getting
22 feels like 12 above. 2 weeks from now, I'll be on a boat heading to the Mexican Riviera. But let's take a look at that replay. And that to me seems like it was a case of Block not that would be something you see on our sim racing stewards on Reddit. Right. Was I in the wrong or not? And I've seen too much of that this week. Yeah, Block able to get that pass done. I don't think it's going to be too much of a penalty from race control. I think it's just going to be a hey, just mind your mirrors, make sure you see what's going on, and don't really trust the AI spotter that much, especially if it's Chris Wheeler, because yeah, he'll let you know that you screwed up. But Kaplan still closing in on Block for position. This battle for 6th place run has been absolutely fantastic between these two drivers, and it's a shame that the sport has had that penalty because he's showing the pace of these two drivers, so he could have kept up with these two. Dave Jones in the back of that train.
Yeah, so we've still got a group, shall we say? I think a group would probably be the best way to describe it. If I called a group of cars a clump, that would feel a bit dirty to say in my own head. Jeffrey Block holding on to P6 at the moment. The Pied Piper of this field trying to close up a pretty big gap to himself and Harpreet Bath in the 915 machine. We'll see if we can get it done as we still have 25 minutes left to go. Here's Aubrey Iyer with a half spin. That's through lucky turn 13 and nearly rejoining into the side. I think that may have been Brad Dunn. Certainly a similar looking race car.
Yeah, Iyer doing the best that she can to try and stay out of trouble. I gotta say this, when she does get into trouble, at least she's able to save it and not fully go around. So, you know, that's half the battle there as we see Stephenson and Portanova still in a battle there. Is that smoke I'm seeing out of the back of one of the cars? That just dust. Yeah, that's smoke. Oh, there's a problem there from the 462 of Carl Best as he pulls offline. Not sure if that's a tire going wrong or if that's a motor deciding it wanted to take a visit elsewhere.
Looks like Andrew.
Damn it.
Yeah, I'm thinking that may have just been a disturbing amount of dust because it looks like it's gone clear and green. We saw that driver get sent off into a spin, heading off through turn number 2 and 3 a bit earlier on, but looks like things have gone all right once more. I think that may have just been a shocking amount of dust on the side of the racetrack. It was, I was getting like, I was getting flashbacks to the McLaren Honda days back in the not the glory days when Senna and Prost were running around this racetrack. Yeah, I think he's just trying to get out of the way and do the best that he can with lap traffic, and actually in all that he just lost P18 to John Suarez, who's in the midst of that pack. But I was thinking too, there may have been something going on there, either some damage, like dragging a bumper, whatever the deal may be. And I think that was just
damage was already
a
done
mix of
to you,
him trying to let the cars up in the front go by, and the track being so incredibly dusty. That's probably the most amount of dust I've ever seen get kicked up on any race in my entire iRacing broadcasting career. I've seen less dust on the iRacing chili bowl.
I hate to catch up to you that way.
Yeah, I've seen it there as well. That was kind of interesting. That's why it made me scratch my head just a little bit.
Well, flip the rifle over to the right,
Kaplan has opened up a 2-second gap between he and Dave Jones. Of course, you know, they're working their way through lap traffic too, so that has a lot to do with it as well as Kaplan. He's looked pretty good throughout a good portion of this race, so you know, he's got that going for him. He's only down one from his grid qualifying position. You see Jeffrey Block going into turn one, so Kaplan can see Block, and that Northeast region driver, he wants to get up there. He's got plenty of time now. Here's the question: does he go for the undercut, or does he stay out and go for the overcut? That's the big question that we're going to see with some of these drivers. Gallus and Eskridge tight in battle there. And yeah, that's to me, that is a Scott Blend-esque livery if I've ever seen one here in the sim.
That's a really cool P14. Maybe it's just as the fact that my racing background is in autocross and just growing up running a go-kart around bright fluorescent orange traffic cones. So I'm definitely partial to my neons, but that's a funky looking race car. I'll tell you what, and this is honest, if I picked up some substances from the other streets of the city of Philadelphia around this time at night, this car would be even more interesting to take a look at. But he's running in 10th at the moment in the 909 machine, the 809 machine, excuse me, and running strong.
I'm not catching these guys.
Maybe the best paint scheme out there on the racetrack. Certainly a good driver, Galus, as he looks to try and get through the final 21 and a half minutes in this race as smoothly as he can. But he does have some pressure right behind us. Ken Eskridge, the 77 car. Eskridge racing in this series alongside his wife Lisa once more, and the Heart of Dixie region racer running in 11th, up 3 spots from where he started, trying to find any way in the book to jump his way up into the top 10.
Let's see if we can take a look at 5th place, where it's Harpeet. Harpeet, that's how you pronounce Bath's first name. So Harpeet Bath and Jeffrey Block sitting there in 5th place. Block really knocking at that door of 5th. He's been looking really good here these past couple of laps. Let's see if he can catch up to Bath. And Bath also still trying to stay in that top 5. As they work their way into the stadium section, Adam Holland decides to answer the call for the pit this time by, and I don't think that Block can get around Bath. He's going to try around the high, wide, handsome line, but he's not going to be able to do it.
Leon's catching me too. He's at 7.8. No, now 8.
A lot of battling left for these competitors, and a lot of opportunities to get some moves done. So you shouldn't really treat every lap as if it is the last. But those pit stops coming up in the near enough future. Adam Holland out and away, 22.3 seconds down the pit stall. That's a bit on the lengthy end, but he does have the final third of this race left to run. So that could probably be the reason why that pit stop was a bit on the longer end. I wonder who is going to be the next to file into pit lane. Talked about a matter of only about like 10-15 minutes ago, how in this series the drivers are more inclined and more tempted to be a bit more experimental with the strategy than they are in the other PCA series.
And you know, that's the glory of these hour-long races that have the pit stops. You know, in real life, it's like, yeah, okay, fine, you know, because it's a bunch of pros. But now you have drivers here who don't do this for a living. They do it for fun. So now you got them thinking, okay, do I start off with a lighter fuel load and go less and try and stretch out that second stint? Or do I go longer, wait till the last minute, and then go in and try some sort of guru strategy? That's what's fun about these hour races. As you see Harpreet Bath trying to hold off Jeffrey Block into the stadium section. Block with a deep dive into the brakes, makes his way behind Bath so far. And this is such a momentum area that you really got to get it all right for the S's.
I'm losing a lot of momentum there. Lost a second.
Yeah, so Harpreet trying to hold off the challenge from Block. That's going to be a little bit easier said than done, considering Block was able to reel in that gap, which was a bit expansive not too long ago, but he is there to pound. So let's see what Beth will be able to do to defend from Block, whether or not he'll be able to hold him off side by side as they head their way out of the S's and the Krekel flat out run into turn number 12. Who's going to win out in this battle, the last late breakers? Give it to Harpreet as he hits the apex first, but Jeffrey Block still all over the back of him.
I'm going to try to take more of that
curve. Find a way to get past, either force him into a mistake or go for a gutsy move into turn number 1. Block was no stranger for going for some moves. He's done it so far in this race. Will probably have to do it once again. Harpreet has been very consistent throughout this race. He's been running smooth, little if any mistakes thus far in the first 40 minutes and some change here in the season opening round. Will he be able to hold off this fight and remain in P5 when those pit stops come? Let's see the gap closing up now to about a quarter of a second. Block looks for the move down the inside. Last of the breakers. He's going to pull along side by side when they get to the apex curve of turn number 1, but not able to do anything more than that.
Of course, that entry that Block had that really hampered his exit and entry there through turn 3, as you saw. Bath able to capitalize on that 0.2 of a second gap going into turn 1 has now turned into a half a second gap. So now Block has to claw his way back up to Bath's rear wing to try and make something happen here, either going into the stadium or going into turn 1. These are the two prime zones that these cars can make. And it's interesting too, because now the strategy comes into play. Where do you make your move? Do you make it where it's tough to try and defend, or where it's even harder to try and defend? Because both of those braking zones have their own challenges when it comes to defense.
And it goes back to a point we raised a little bit earlier on in the broadcast, Jeremy, about how you can very easily hold on to a spot by just running the defensive game, running the numbers, and positioning your car in the right spot whereby a driver just can't get a move.
I'm cheating myself. I need to use more of that curve.
We'll be able to do that well. You can see odd line through there. I think he went a little bit too deep into turn number 14, and here comes Jeremy Block down the inside to the second to last corner. They exit the stadium section and careen to the start-finish line side by side, but Bath able to get the good run, get the momentum on an exit. Now, however, Block is going to be in the drift. Will he be able to close up that gap? Has still been growing just because of how good of an exit Harpreet had and how bad of an exit Jeremy Block had. Now, however, with 3.5 of a second being the gap farther apart than they were one lap ago, about a 10th farther apart compared to the lap prior. Block just not able to apply the pressure. That may be a slowdown for him. He went all 4 wheels on the other side of that curve, on the other side of the line. He's going to try and go for the move, but I'm not sure if this is going to stick. Jeffrey Block going to try and pounce. Will he be able to do it? He closes up, but not able to make it work. Harpreet Bath holding on to that inside line, defending for his life, and going to hold off still.
Yeah, we'll see if that slowdown penalty comes down. I don't think, if it hasn't come yet, it basically is not going to. You got this battle here, the battle for 10th, between Gallius and Eskridge, Ken Eskridge, that is, as Gallia trying to just use that defensive line and get his way around some of this lap traffic, and indeed he does, because Eskridge has fallen back a little bit, not able to get around that lap traffic. You see that is stuck right in the middle between this battle, and they decide to get out of the way. So that's some good news there, but I'll tell you what, Eskridge has lost at least a half a second to that 10th place car. Snyman is in the pit, so now we start to see the leaders decide to gamble and come in with about a quarter of the race left to go. Let's see if Bath and Block decide they want to come in for this time, and they are not, as they're both, oh, here comes Block. Block is going to take the gamble.
Alrighty, so breaking away. The two of them split on the strategies. Starting to see that slow trickle of drivers come down pit lane. It'll only be a matter of time before it turns into a full-on monsoon. I think all these racers now a little bit more spread out. They may be inclined to just split away and decide to come into pit lane. That Sentry spin and a bunk into the inside wall. That's coming out of turn number 6. That was a collision for the driver of the 511 car, but got hurt his front end quite a lot. There's Jeffrey Block rejoining the track. Gonna slot in P10. Not going to feel a lot of pressure from the driver behind us. I believe that's a lap car. I think that may be Lisa Eskridge, unless I am mistaken there. Up there's Lisa Eskridge, a little bit farther up the road. I do apologize for that. But car right behind, probably not going to apply the pressure to Block. And in terms of position, Block is more in a spot to jump on Ken Eskridge, and he is to worry about a car behind himself. So I think Jeffrey Block may have timed this to perfection.
I think he may. Yeah, but of course, here's the thing too. Block has all sorts of. He has cold tires. So yeah, well, he has fresh tires. They are cold tires, and they're just not warmed up enough. Yeah, we're at a higher elevation than we are any other racing circuit, but still, the good news is because he's 21 seconds ahead of the next competitor, he hasn't lost pace. Bad news is he still lost a lot of time. You know what? That's the glory of being up here in the booth. You might be right, you might be wrong, but gosh darn it, you're the one who's calling the race and making it all so exciting for some of these drivers. Here comes Beth into the pits. Well, I think that Sentry is also in the pits, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Dunn, Messier, and Kaplan come in here anytime now.
Yeah, I think Brad Dunn feeling the least amount of pressure of anybody in the field, holding on to that 6-second lead. These racers, though, in the pits, gonna have to worry about where they exit at. Keep an eye on Beth and keep an eye on the car. He was battling side by side with not too long ago Jeffrey Block. He's gonna carry the momentum. This may be a swap-a-roo for the spot. Shit. There's Block entering in at the bottom of your screen. There's Beth rejoining the racing line in a rather calm and collected manner, and able to withstand that challenge. I think if there was another lap between when Beth came into the pits, he actually did. If he stayed out for one more lap, that could have very easily allowed Jeffrey Block to get this spot easily. Instead, he's going to have to earn it. He's going to have to do it the hard way. Will he be able to make it work with some side-by-side battling into turn number 4? Jeffrey Block on the inside, Beth on the outside. Who's going to get to the apex first? This time it's going to be Block, but Beth fighting back on the inside to turn number 5, and they touch.
And that's going to be a naughty flag for one of the two drivers. But 2 laps and 2 times Block has spun once on his own. Well, he almost spun on his own again there. But yeah, that pit strategy looking a little better for Beth at the time being the Block spinning twice in about the same area in about 2 laps. So we'll see what the poor race stewards have been absolutely inundated with incidents, and had a feeling that was going to happen because you definitely don't want to put your nose out front there, as Kaplan is into the pits as well, so that gives Snyman a chance to go back up to 3rd. And God, you know what, that to me seems like it might be a Bath penalty, but then again, this is why I'm in the booth and not in race control.
Yes, I'm going to keep my lips shut about all of that. I will let race control do what race control does very well, and then I will relay the penalty call whenever it is made. For now, though, we see John Kaplan exit out of the racetrack. He's a P6 at the moment, on the point of rejoining Dave Jones well farther back, and David Sentry a little bit farther up the road. Maybe a 3-car battle. Ken Eskridge yet to come into the pits in the number 77 machine. As we look throughout this field, there's Dave Jones kind of running all by his lonesome in P7 at the current moment. As your race leader has now come in, Brad Dunn from the top spot, now down pit lane. This is the money stop.
It really is, and especially now that the pit lane delta for him is exactly where he needs to be. He comes, hits his marks, and the car will come up on the jets. The Metropolitan New York region driver has done quite well up at the front. Here's Messier, of course, one of the drivers who just came out of pit road, and And I think I know what's going to happen here. Oh no, we're actually watching Messier come down the front straightaway, and there goes Dunn. That's an 8-second gap, and no surprise there. Bath with a solid black flag.
And race control marking that as the point of contact. The reason why he's gotten the penalty. That's going to be unfortunate for him. He was running very smooth, very calm, cool, and collected, but that P9 result that he's holding on to at the present moment will get taken out of his hands, and he may fall outside of the top 10. Penalties at this point are always the most demoralizing because there's really no point to bounce back, and I think seeing red a little bit there, if I'm being honest, he just can't really go side by side off into the chicane. Well, he can in small open wheelers, but in big Porsche 992 GT3 machinery, it's not going to end well more often than not.
No,
I got 2 more laps, so I'm going to go 1 more lap.
He's going to answer that call right away, and you can make it happen. I think if Bath would have given a little bit, that they could have made it through the corner together and lived to see another day. But it just you hate to see it. You really do.
Yeah. 1 more lap. I'll be all right.
Yeah, it's a shame. It really, I think it's the only way that you can describe it. It's unfortunate for both of the drivers involved. They were putting together a smooth race. They're putting on an awesome battle too. That's what I usually mourn the loss of the most. Whenever I see drivers making contact and incident taking place out there on the racetrack, they've been battling for so long, and then a small little mistake, a little bit of red mist going on in probably the 15th time thus far here tonight that they've gone side by side. Just ended tears, but sure, these races gotta look to bounce back as the series rocks up for the next round of the championship at Phillip Island in 2 weeks' time. Of course, you'll be able to catch all of the action as per usual here on RaceSpot TV. Brad Dunn, after starting from the pole, looks like he's going to convert it into a victory, and it's a bit surprising, honestly, the fact that he's been able to do that, because as I said a bit earlier on in this show, didn't see many racers do that during Series 14 competition here in the PCA Challenge class. There were only 2. It was Todd Goldberg at Laguna Seca in round 4, and Ed Trippett in the rain at Aragon for round 5. Everybody else was not able to convert a pole into a win. Brad Dunn actually on 2 straight poles as he started from the pole in the other season finale for Series 14 at VIR, and really bucking the trend that was set last season. Seems to have a different case here for Series 15.
It's not as easy as it seems to start on the pole and go flag to flag victory. You look at how rare it's done in almost any series. So, to have that feat accomplished is absolutely huge. Of course, look at how big the gap he has between he and Messier for that 1-2. Is Kaplan really closing in on Santry there?
I can put the limiter on
into that top 5. I've got to say, this has got to be the drive of the race right here with John Kaplan. He's made his way up from the back, and now he's just slowly, methodically catching up to the 5-11 and trying to see if he can get into that top 5 with about 6 minutes left to go. And I would say probably about 3, maybe 2 laps left in this race as Aguirre comes into the pits.
Track's clear.
So just a couple drivers throughout this field left to come down pit lane, but they will have to do that both out of
5
rules
seconds.
and just trying to make it to the very end of this race. We'll have to get that taken care of in the final 5.5 minutes. Ken Eskridge yet to come into the pits. We're awaiting the stop from the driver of the 77 car, but props are most certainly due to him, a PCA veteran, a driver I've gotten to cover here in these races, along with racing in the other PCA team series. He actually races in that series teammates with his own wife, who races in the series. I believe it was Lovebirds Racing that they're piloting the other car of in the other season opening race at Daytona, just about a week and some change ago here on RaceSpot TV. Even though the drama went on with Jeffrey Block a little bit earlier on, he's still battling. This time he's running in 8th with a car right up in front of him. That's Dave Jones that he looks to scrap it up with. You can see that battle for P7 in the bottom of your screen, and the battle for 5th continuing up on top. Here comes a move into turn number 1 from Jeffrey Block, trying to rattle the cage of Dave Jones a little bit, and it's gonna work. Dave Jones goes really deep, but that's not gonna work. Side by side to 2 and 3, and they are lucky to get away with that.
That could have ended up so nasty between Block and Jones as Jones tucks into the rear wing of Block. He's keeping an eye on see if he can go through the stadium section and try and make a pass. Not going to make it happen. Block has been a victim of this before, so we had a spinner there. They've gotten underway, but Block able to open up that gap and kind of get away from Jones because he doesn't want another part of facing the wrong way and watching cars come at him through that stretch of roadway. So Block sitting comfortably in 7th place. By the way, Kaplan has gotten around Santry for 5th place, so it's just going to take Eskridge to pit for that to happen. I was thinking about what you said about the Eskridge's racing in the team championship. While it is great because all you have to do is just get in and out of the car or in the seat in the sim, what happens when you have a failure with the network?
Yeah, I didn't think of that before. That's actually a very good point.
Oh, shit.
Double and give it to the next person. Ken Eskridge still holding on to P4 at the moment. Yet to come down pit lane. I am stunned by this call there. Yeah, that's all that popped in my head. I had nothing for that. You know, I actually had a interesting discovery a little bit earlier on. So my father is an interesting fellow. Some of the antics I get up to on the air are a net cause of him being the other man that raised me. So I kind of have the same school of thought. And he had an interesting thought a bit earlier on, talking about compasses and sun flares and all that stuff and solar activity, as that's a spin for David Santry. And it made me think, how many times do you think ships wrecked over the years just because of solar activity messing with the magnetic field of the Earth and maybe crossing up their signals of what's north and what's south on their compass? These are thoughts that kept me away from the rest of the kids in my class.
I was going to say, it probably explains why Christopher Columbus thought he was in India when really he was in North America at that time. Good point. I like that thought. Now that's going to keep me from sleeping tonight. Eskridge going through the stadium section, and yeah, we saw how Kaplan got around Santry as Santry goes around through that stadium, the first stadium section. This is really the second one. There's 2 of them. Let's see if Eskridge dips low, and indeed he does not. So he's banking on that time penalty. So I think with the Delta, it's I'm trying to think. The Delta alone would make him lose 4th place. He might stay in the top 5, so honestly, Ron, I think this might be a solid gamble.
Yeah, and he's got one more opportunity left to come down pit lane because Brad Dunn is going to take the white flag in just a handful of moments' time as he heads his way out of the S's into the stadium for one of the last times here. It's been a commanding race for him after some relative disappointment in the challenge class season finale at the end of series 14. Looks to bounce back in a big way in that lime green mobile. It has been a frankly brilliant debut for this driver of the 241 cars. He's now going to take the white flag, heading his way out of the final turn. The white flag is going to be in the air. One more lap of racing action left for Brad Dunn, and he gets that white flag with a 6-second gap between himself and Vernon Messer in P2. That's going on. I'm personally keeping my eyes on Ken Eskridge, the other driver yet to come down pit lane. He's heading his way out of turn number 11 right now, and I will keep you posted as to whether or not he comes down pit lane.
What?
Oh, we've got Ramiro, our crack producer, showing us if he's going to come down pit road this time by. I don't see why he wouldn't. Actually, that's John Kaplan behind me. He's 23 seconds behind Snyman. Math is not my strong suit tonight, apparently. And no, he is not going to take that dive down to pit road. So Eskridge is going to try and run the whole race on one tank. And oh my goodness, is that a wiggle? Is he trying to get fuel into the tank? Oh, this is going to be interesting for the 77. Yeah,
wait,
he is.
You don't have to pit?
Yeah, I'm listening in right now. Let's listen in
Thanks,
to
Lisa.
I'm super confused. I thought you were supposed to piss.
Mega lift.
Yeah.
Running in 6th.
Was
He didn't downshift until he got to the apex. Yeah, he
is that how he moved
clutching
up, maybe?
at straws to make it to the end.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out for the Heart of Dixie region driver. And it's going to be interesting to see what race control has to say about that.
You've got 1 gallon left.
That's the last
Yeah, he's just...
Yeah, this will be fascinating.
Thank you. Dang it, man.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see as Brad Dunn makes his way around the circuit, but he's going to have to give up the 5th spot. Here comes Dunn.
Yeah, Dunn about to come across the line to win the opening race of the season here in the PCA Challenge class in Series 15. Brad Dunn, your winner here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Vernon Master about to come home in P2 with Leon Snyman set to round out your podium in 3rd. The real question is, about 23 seconds behind, who is going to be your final driver inside of the top 5? Who is going to be your final racer inside the top 4, I should say? I think Eskridge has returned to speed, and John Kaplan isn't really closing up that gap. He's kind of around him, but you wouldn't expect the gap to be as big as it is, considering that Ken Eskridge spent the opening half of the lap lifting and clutching at straws. Here he is, heading his way around the final turn, virtually at a snail's pace. He's going to come across the line in 4th. I'm not sure if race control will have anything to say about it, but Ken Eskridge, at least on the road, comes across the line in P4 after not coming into the pits for the entirety of the race. Even if he gets penalized for that, props are most certainly due. That's the way to pull off a good strategy.
No, really is, and that was absolutely fantastic. And knowing that he had
this is the PCA league.
Really clutching coast that first half of the lap and still keep Kaplan behind him.
I just thought that was a mandatory pit stop, though. I didn't know that. I would have practiced.
Yeah, so what a race. What a way to get the season up and rolling here in the PCA Challenge class. And here are your race results. Brad Dunn walks away with the victory. 7.5 seconds, a gap to himself and Vernon Messer in P2 by the fall of the checkered flag, with Leon Steinman rounding out your podium in 3rd. It's Ken Eskridge with the fuel-saving gamble of a lifetime.
Anyway,
finishing
Brad, Vernon, and Leon,
only about 4/10 of a second less than that. In fact, in front of John Kaplan, those two were just about side by side when they came across the line. David Sartre finishes a little bit farther behind in 6th with Jeffrey Block
people in the broadcast would love to hear your story.
James finishes in 9th. Brian Galis ending out top 10 right behind it.
Brad, Vernon, and Leon,
11, Andrew Hillman at 12, Adam Holland at 13, Alex back at 14, John Johnson is 15. Patrick O'Rear in P16. Eskridge in 17th place. Jack Stevenson in 18th. Eddie McCune in 19th.
We got one of the
17th place. Jack Stevenson in 18th. Eddie McCune in 19th. Some of these drivers running into difficulties a little bit late. It's Peter Portanova finishing in 21st. Carl Bass 22nd. It's Peter Portanova finishing in 23rd after some drama a bit earlier on in this race. So that's how their class at the end of a pretty heart-pumping season opener here in the PCA. Heart-pumping first 2 weeks in this series, to be sure. And it looks like we have some drivers looking to have a chat with us. I'll get the interviews up and rolling by having a chat. Firstly, I think we'll do this in reverse order as we wait for our race winner to get in the booth. We'll work our way from the bottom and get our way up. We'll start off with our P3 finisher of Leon Steinman now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Leon, welcome in. It's a podium on the opening round of the season for you in that 993 machine. How was it out there?
Well, can't really pretend that I know what I'm doing, but I'm a rookie, and so it was great up there. I got a nice qualifying round, and so it put me out of trouble in the middle of the pack there. So I'm really sorry about hitting Jeff in the beginning of the race, and I hope I didn't ruin his race, but it was great, and it wasn't really a race for me, I guess. I was the front guys left me behind completely in their dust, and so I was kind of on my own there. I think there were some mistakes made behind me, so that worked to my favor.
Boy, Leon was fast.
Well, works out well for you here in this race, walking away with a P3. I want to ask you about this racetrack here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Looked like a tough cookie to crack for racers in all 4 of our classes here in the PCA. So how was it for you trying to get a grip to this racetrack?
They gave me that drive-through.
Every practice I've been in and every practice race I've been in, I've spun out. So I'm really happy that I
Thanks for
didn't spin
watching.
out this time, but it's a really difficult
wanna see
track.
if this was
Those
a
S's,
incident on me or
the
what.
second one, if you don't know, if you don't practice that, it's going to throw you off for sure.
I'll tell you what, man, it was awesome to see you out there on the racetrack, tackling the challenge of this circuit. Then I want to ask you, next time out, we're going to be running at Phillip Island for round number 2 of the championship.
Whoa.
Have you gotten the opportunity to race around there before? And if so, what are your thoughts heading to it?
Honestly, I have not. I had a look at it the other night. Had a look at an online video just on Racing Line and suggested times and so forth, but I haven't even stepped foot on it at all.
I'm going to be venture off into the unknown for the next round of this championship, Leon, but we look forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack. Thank you for joining us, and well done on the P3 here tonight.
Thank you. Just a shout out to Mike Pedersen and his team for, bringing us newbies through the into the main league, and we really appreciate their time.
I'm just trying to see if I deserve that penalty.
Awesome, man. Always love to see some new blood in this series. Awesome to see you out there. We look forward to seeing you at Phillip Island.
Oh, man,
Thank you, and thanks for what you guys do as well.
Fucking 7 positions.
Thank you as well. That right there was Leon Snyman joining us here in the broadcast booth, P3 for that driver at the end here. And Jeremy, I'll let you catch up with our second place finisher, Vernon Messer.
Yeah, let's talk to Vernon Messer, a fantastic second place. It seemed like everybody was chasing down Brad Dunn, but nonetheless, a clean race, decent race for you. Congratulations on P2.
Thank you. Yeah, Brad was just way too fast for me. I think I was like lap 7. I looked down and he was 3.5 seconds ahead of me, and he kind of sailed off into the sunset. I had a few chances. I think he might have had a little off and lap traffic, but didn't work out for me. But I'm thrilled to be on second place here.
Yeah, a great way to start the season, especially here at Mexico City, where you got your balances, you got your long straights, you have your tight corners. What was it like trying to get around some of those lap cars and just basically surviving a lap?
Yeah, it was. I was surprised. There were, everyone is just. That's the great thing about PCA racing. Everyone, gets out of your way, and there's no real drama. But I was just glad to keep it on the track and not hit a curb and do a spin or something like I've seen some of the other classes do.
Now you mentioned how the racing is here in PCA.
That was my fault.
For somebody who's on the fence of wanting to get into the challenge class,
who was that?
Or something in PCA, what do you say to them, and
That
how
was
do you coax
Aubrey.
them behind the wheel?
Sorry, Aubrey.
I think
I waited.
If you like iRacing, this just will make you a better iRacer. I mean, you might get frustrated with,
Jason,
the shenanigans like in the open lobbies, but when you're playing with the PCA guys, you've got like endless help, improving your track times. You got a bunch of great volunteers, and like I said, the racing's clean.
Anyways,
not a lot
I gotta
of
go eat dinner,
frustration,
guys.
so,
I appreciate you guys watching.
Anybody
Jason,
to jump on in.
thanks for stopping by last minute.
Well, either way, congratulations, second place. Great way to start the season. Anyone you want to thank?
Check you guys later.
I think I'll thank my friend Jason for giving me encouragement to stick with